how I set my daughter up to become not only a millionaire, but a multi-millionaire when she grows up and becomes an adult. So I am a single mother by choice. Welcome back, Journey to Generational Wealth Gang. So today I'm going to tell you a little bit more about myself and how I set my daughter up to become not only a millionaire, but a multi-millionaire when she grows up and becomes an adult. So I am a single mother by choice. And for those that don't know what a single mother by choice is, that essentially, so it doesn't mean that I left her father or that things didn't work out between us. That actually means that I used an anonymous donor that I purchased their part from a sperm bank and did IVF. And so there's a long story behind why I chose to go that route. It has nothing to do with the fact that I don't love men, because I do love men. And I do believe that women need men and so on and so forth. So anyway, but yes, I chose to be a single mother by choice. And so when I made that decision, I knew from day one, or really before day one, that meant that I was going to be financially responsible for her all the time. That I wasn't gonna, have any additional financial support or assistance or so on and so forth. So that meant that I had to get myself together and I had to be prepared and plan for that. So that being said, it was, despite the fact that I did have some fertility insurance, so I did have some assistance, I did have to pay a substantial amount to conceive my daughter. And I put that on credit when I did it. I'm like, that's just the honest God goodness truth, because I didn't have I did have some cash saved up, but I wanted to keep my emergency fund as my emergency fund, to be honest. So during that time period, I started paying down on that debt. I was still working on paying off the rest of my debt. So actually, the part that was part of my, conception part of my debt was part of the $65,000+ that I said that I paid off in a matter of 5 years. It wasn't the bulk of it, but it was a part of it. And I just created a strategy to get that taken care of, because again, I knew that once she got here, I was going to have to pay for her delivery fee, and then there were going to be other additional expenses that take place in raising a child. So like I said, I created a strategy to be able to pay that debt down. I forwent some of the other things that I would normally do. So I love to travel. I love to travel internationally. So I cut off all trips when I had girlfriends calling me saying, hey, we should go here. Hey, we should do a vacation here. Hey, we should do this, that, and the other. I'm in a sorority when my line sisters were like, hey, we need to do a line trip. I unfortunately had to turn all of those things down. I wanted to go, I wanted to participate in those things, but it was more important to me to make sure that I was debt free when my daughter arrived. And at this point in time, like, if you don't know anything about IVF, it's a complete and total process. So it wasn't just, they put the sperm with the egg and then you have a baby. That's not how it goes. So it was actually like a 2-year process. The conception part happened in 1 year, then the transfer part happened in another year. So that being said, I was working through, paying things down that entire time. I love going to get massages and I love getting my nails done and, getting pedicures and so on and so forth. I made choices to sacrifice those things because, like I said, it was more important to me to make sure that I had that debt paid off. Everyone is not going to make those choices. Everyone is not going to make those decisions. Everyone is not going to be that strict about what it is that they want to do. And that's your choice. But I'm saying this to say, like, again, 5 years, $65,000+ that I was able to pay down. I was also able in that same period of time to save up very close to 6 months of expenses, which I ended up having to use for a period of time. I ended up getting laid off when COVID happened, and it was at the beginning of my pregnancy, so I ended up getting laid off and ended up getting unemployment for a little while, so that helped me to be able to, navigate some things. Hey, I don't have to worry about, my mortgage getting paid. Unemployment is going to pay for that. But I do have to worry about all the rest of my expenses plus this debt that I'm paying off. And then when I actually had my daughter, I was working, but I was working a contract job, and that job did not offer, they did offer maternity leave, which basically meant like, hey, so long as the vendor is okay with this, we'll keep your job available for you. We'll just kind of use some backfill so you can come back, but you're not going to get paid for this time. So I made a conscious decision to take 4 months off of work, and I used my emergency fund during that time. So it's not that I was funneling 100% of all of my money into paying down this debt, because I had other things that I needed to continue to save for. And I know that there are some financial programs that are like, pay off your debt, like get $1,000 in your emergency fund, and then that's all you need in that, and then pay off your debt. Once all of your debt is paid off, then you can move on to the next step, so on and so forth. While I was paying off my debt and saving money for my emergency fund, I was also still investing. Make your own choices, do what you feel is best for you, do your own research. These are the choices that I personally made. So when so like I said, I was paying off the debt for my daughter for my conception, and then as well as everything else, IVF, I guess is better term that I should use versus her conception. So paying off everything for IVF. Once I paid off all of that debt, then I started putting the money that I was putting towards that. I split it between my emergency fund, because again, I didn't know what was going to happen. COVID was just now starting. I was like, you're going to need to have some money saved up. Some transition had already happened with my job and everything. But the other part of it, I started putting into a sinking fund, and I named that sinking fund Babies. I didn't know at this point in time, I was going through like my second IVF process. I had a couple of embryos. I didn't know whether or not my embryos were going to survive. I didn't know how many more IVF cycles I was going to have to do. I didn't know how many embryos I was going to end up with. Again, this all continues to cost money, so on and so forth. So like I said, I started a sinking fund, and I called it Baby Fund. And in my baby fund, I just started funneling money. I knew that, eventually my child was going to need a car seat, and they're going to need a stroller, and they're going to need clothes, and they're going to need this, that, and the other. And so I knew that I was going to want to have money to be able to do those things. If you listen to, maybe I haven't previously said this, but for 18 years I wanted to have a child. And I dealt with infertility. So this was a huge deal for me. It wasn't just something that I spur of the moment was like, it's finally my time to have a child. Like, this was a huge, huge deal for me. So I also knew that I was going to want to splurge and just enjoy the experience of buying cute little baby things. And so I was putting money away into my baby fund. And so when my daughter was, let me circle back. Putting money into my baby fund. So then the other thing that I did was, knowing that I was going to be her sole and only parent, that gave me a lot of anxiety, especially with the mortality rate of Black women having, going into hospitals and having children and so on and so forth, and, dying during childbirth or dying, shortly after childbirth. Like, I had to factor all of those things in mind to make sure that my child was going to be taken care of if anything happened to me. So I did some research on wills. I did some research on trusts to try and get a better understanding of, do I need a will? Do I need a trust? Do I need a will and a trust? What does guardianship look like for my child if something happens to me? So on and so forth. So I did work with an attorney so that I could create a will and a trust. And in both of those, it states specifically, in the will, it states specifically what is to happen to my daughter if something were to happen to me. Who specifically I wanted to, have raised her, and that took a lot of time. It took a lot of time for me to decide, who do I feel would raise my child the way that I would raise them? And of course, the answer to that is absolutely no one. However, of the people that I had available, I had to make a decision of who do I feel would be the best person to raise her if I could not raise her? So I made sure that I set all of that up. I had to have conversations with those people to make sure that they were on board with it, to make sure that they would accept my child the same way that they would accept their children. Because it wasn't a situation of, hey, if something happens to me, then you have to pick up the slack and take my kid. It was, hey, if something happens to me, now you're her mother and father. And that's not to say that I never existed and I don't want you to continue to tell her about me or to tell them about me, because at the time I didn't know it was going to be a daughter. But again, we had some very crucial conversations, and they were very in-depth conversations. And I'm not going to tell you it was an easy process, because it was not an easy process at all. It wasn't an easy process going through the list of people. It wasn't an easy process deciding. It wasn't an easy process, having conversations and asking people like, hey, it challenged me to my core, especially considering I was pregnant while I was doing all of this. So it challenged me to my core to even think about the possibility that I would have gone through everything that I went through to have this child, and then potentially not even be here to raise the child. So anyhow, I got all of my ducks in a row, got everything set up so that I would have a will and I would have a trust, and there would be a guardian if a guardian was needed, and so on and so forth. So I'm telling you all of these things because, especially considering like right now is Child Safety Month, like for me, these are the safety aspects of children that people don't generally equate with the concept of safety. But I would highly encourage you to think about it. If you don't have a will set up, you need to think about it. If you have children and you want your children to, you need to think about who you would want to raise your children if something were to happen to you. And the concept of, oh, somebody in the family will take them, like they'll be perfectly fine. I'm not really, it's not a big deal. I'm not really concerned about it. Somebody in the family will take them. That may be the case, but it also may not be the case. Life is hard sometimes, especially if other people have children, like, hey, I have an additional mouth to feed. Like all of those things are to consider. But at the same time, will just whoever random in the family that will take your child, or that you think will take your child, are they going to raise them the way that you would want them to be raised? Are they going to instill in them the ideals and principles and values that you would want them to have? For me, that's something that you need to think about. Like, I would rather make that choice myself than let my child just end up wherever. So certainly consider that, and I highly suggest that you look into getting a will and have it literally written down, as a legal document. These are what my wishes are, versus something happening to you and your family having to go to court because they will, and then them having to petition and say, I want to take the child. So-and-so would want me to have them. What if multiple people in the family want your child? Do you want them fighting over the process through court? Do you want a court-appointed, advocate being the person who's making those decisions on behalf of your child? All things to think about. And they all fall into, like I said, child safety. So anyhow, after having done that, my daughter was finally, I also did the research to find out about life insurance, because like I said, if something were to happen to me, then my child would need to be financially taken care of, and I wouldn't want her to be a financial burden on anyone else. So I did the research to find out, what does life insurance look like? How much do I need? I already had a life insurance policy, but I didn't feel like it was going to be enough to take care of a child for, at minimum 18 years if something were to have happened to me at her birth. So I felt like I needed additional, but at the same time, I knew I was going to have to raise this child by myself, so I also knew that I was going to have to be able to afford this life insurance. So do your research. Every person should have life insurance. Every person should have, at bare minimum, enough life insurance to bury themselves. My great grandmother, who was born one generation out of slavery, taught that to my father. She raised him, and one of her sticklers for him was every person should be able to, at bare minimum, bury themselves when they pass away. So no GoFundMe accounts, no fried chicken dinners, no fish plates, no, we invite everybody to the house and people, hand you $5 here and $20 there and $15 here and $100 there because we're trying to raise money for this funeral. No, the body has to sit at the mortuary for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months a year because we can't afford to bury the person. Like, get life insurance. It's just get it. It is not that expensive, or it doesn't have to be that expensive. Like, prioritize the responsibility of your burial over, shoes and nails and lashes and hair and coffee and video games and whatever else is important to you, cars and whatever else is important to you. So I made sure that the amount of life insurance that I got, that I believed that it would be enough to sustain her, like I said, for at least 18 years if it was needed. And then once she was born, like I said, I had this baby fund, so I did purchase things that, I felt like she needed, or things that I wanted her to have. But I also started a 529 education fund so that I could contribute to her education. And I set up a custodial brokerage account so that I could contribute to her financial future. And so for starters, between her, as well as I had some cash left over in her savings account. And this past year, bonds, U.S. savings bonds, were at a great interest rate. And so I bought her some savings bonds. Like, I've diversified her portfolio the same way that I would diversify my own, or recommend that anyone else diversify their own. And so she will be 2 in the coming months. And she almost has $10,000 of net worth at the age of less than 2. Well, hopefully by the time she's 2, she'll have a $10,000 net worth. And that being said, of course she has no debt. But it's not because I put $10,000 in there across, the 3 or 4 of those accounts from the get-go. It's not even that I put $5,000 in there across those starting, those 4 accounts, because I didn't. It's because I put the money in there, like I said, shortly after she was born. And for her investments, I did, what is it called? Oh, sweet Lord. Daily cost averaging? Oh crap. I can't remember, but anyhow, I consistently contributed a certain amount so that stocks were being purchased, whether they were high, whether they were low. I was contributing the same amount over and over again. I will put on the screen somewhere what that is. But anyhow, so her stock portfolio was steadily increasing. I did research. I asked people who have been in this investing game for way, way longer than I have been in it, for tips. Like, hey, what would you recommend? Especially considering that she has her whole life. So we got a full, 65 years, 60 years, 50 years, whatever, for her to be in these investments. So I'm looking for the long game. What is going to get us the most money? What are going to be the best growth stocks to put her in? Let's diversify her portfolio. All of these are things that I did to ensure that she has a good financial footing, that she's started off well. And like I said, that she, God willing, will be not just a millionaire, but a multi-millionaire. This is just what I've done. This is just her start. This doesn't include what she will do once she turns 18, or once she turns, 21 and gets into the workforce and starts contributing herself. It also doesn't include that as my salary increases and I'll be able to contribute additional resources into those accounts. Like, that's not included as well. This is a base. If I just keep putting in the same amount that I've been putting in, that I started out with, then yes, she will be a millionaire by the time that she is 65. And she'll also have resources for her to go to college. I've also recently found out that even at the age that she is now, she can start applying for scholarships, which blew my mind. So I'm going to start looking for scholarships to apply her for, so that we just have them set up. If we receive them, we figure out what the process is to store the information or store the funds or whatever, and keep it pressing, so that, God willing, the plan is for her to go to college and come out debt free. I don't want my children to have the same financial struggles that I had, that my parents had, that my family members have had. And so that's the reason why I've made the decisions that I have made. Are they sacrifices? I don't see them as sacrifices. I really honestly don't. We live in a nice house, or a townhouse. You know, we still get to do the things that we want to do. She is participating in activities. It is not cheap to have micro locks. So I still feel like, we're living a good life. I don't feel like it is a major burden to have these focuses on the finances to make sure that she has a good financial footing. Since I told you that I had her via IVF, I have another embryo that I absolutely plan on transferring, and I have every intention of doing the exact same thing for that child. Now, depending on what my income is at the time, the amounts may be split. So, my first child may start out a little bit higher than my second child, but the goal is to eventually catch them up. But they're definitely going to have a 529 education fund. They're going to have a custodial brokerage account. They're going to have a savings account. They're going to have, depending on what the interest rates on treasury bonds are, they're going to have bonds as well. Like, I have written all of these things down. I've mapped all of them out to make sure that I do the same for my second child that I've done for my first. But you have to start somewhere. And you don't have to start with a ton of money. Like, I think it's a misconception that people are like, oh, I have to have tons of money. I have to have, thousands of dollars. I have to have hundreds of dollars, or whatever the case may be. Start with what you have. I think for the education fund, starting out, you have to have $25. Just $25 to start it. You can put $25 in a week, $25 in a month, whatever you can put in there. The same thing for the brokerage account. I think you could start the brokerage account with nothing in it, and then just fund it whenever you had a chance, or whenever you had the resources to do so. And so my recommendation to people is start these accounts. If you have a child, all you need is your child's full name, their birth certificate, their social security card, and their social security number, and their birth date. Those are the three things that you need, and then plus your information as well, because you'll be the custodian of the account until the child turns 18 or 21 or whatever your state's requirements are. But you are far more likely to contribute to these funds if you have them started than you are if you don't have them started. If something happens and you happen to have extra money, if you have it worked out so that you get a refund check, you're more likely to contribute to your child's financial future if you have the account set up when you get that refund check versus if you don't. If you, heaven forbid, someone in your family passes away and you get an inheritance, you're more likely to contribute to your children's financial future if you have these accounts set up versus if you don't. Set them up. Again, start with what you can. $5 here, $10 there, $20 here, $25 there. On their birthdays, contribute a little bit more if you can. For me, that's one of the things that I do. So last year, she's only had one birthday thus far. Last year on her birthday, I contributed $365 to her brokerage account. That was her biggest birthday gift. We did a small party at the house with family. It was not anything huge. I intentionally did not make it huge. I intentionally did not spend a ton of money on it because my thought process was I would rather have the bulk of this money go directly to my child than to entertaining my family and friends. I absolutely love them, but she's my priority. And I'm the only one who is, for the most part, financially looking out for her. I'm really the only one who's financially looking out for her. So these are just recommendations. I told you guys that I would tell you how I did this, and this is exactly how I did it. So here's my takeaway for you. If you have children and you are interested in establishing generational wealth, if you have children and you are interested in having financial stability for yourself and starting your children out with a good financial footing, I want you to reach out to me. I'm Laura. I'm a financial coach with Journey to Generational Wealth, and I would love, love, love to team with you to create strategies to accomplish and achieve your financial goals. But you have to create a strategy, and you have to be determined that you're going to achieve the goal. You have to believe in yourself. I will believe in you. I am going to cheer you on. I will send you affirmations. I will help you do research, whatever it is that we have to do to get you to achieve your goals. But you have to start with making the first step. The first step is going to be going to my bio, and you will be able to see the link for a complimentary consultation call. Click that bio, fill out the form, and schedule your complimentary consultation. I look forward to hearing from you. I hope that you have enjoyed this content. If you like my shirt, my Journey to Generational Wealth shirt, you can own one of your own. Please check out my Etsy store. I'll have it linked right here. It'll also be linked in my bio as well as in the description. And I hope that this content has been useful and helpful to you. If it has, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. I would definitely love to hear some comments from you in the comment section below. Let me know if you've set up any of these accounts for your children. Let me know if any of this information has been enlightening or has been new information for you, or if you already knew all of this and you just stayed along to be entertained. I hope to see you and hear from you. And like I said, subscribe for more personal finance tips. My goal is to help people become financially stable so that they can embark on their journey to generational wealth. I hope to see you next time. Bye, Journey to Generational Wealth gang.